got something here for you. I'd like you to open that and read it to the people.
How sweet it is.
Chocolate, buddy.
The Muskingum County Republican Club, Executive Central Committee. You know I'm in trouble right away. Muskingum County Republican Club bestows a life membership. Whereas it is entirely fitting and proper that this organization encourage the advancement of the principles and ideals of the Republican Party through the recognition of individuals exemplifying the utmost in adherence to the philosophy of the party, and whereas the bestowal of the life membership is the ultimate honor this organization reserves to those who most deserve it. Now therefore, the undersigned being duly empowered is hereby declare that a membership for life in the Muskingum County Republican Party is hereby bestowed upon Don Colopy, signed Pat Ennis. Thomas, that's cruel. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you like it, Don. I hope that you display that in a prominent place in your home.
Well, thank you.
We'll put it right beside the screen copy of our invitation to Clinton's and all.
Well, that is a little hard to top, but I believe I forgot one other person. Bill Stuck that indicated he had one or two things that he might want to say. For those of you who don't know Bill, he was one of the foremen for the company. And he's also gone on to a much easier and happier life.
It wasn't bad working for Paul.
Paul contracting. In fact, it was a great place. And I appreciate that, Don. Dave and all concerned. But I got one little situation in mind. We were down in Chillicothe working. And as you can see, this fix-it vote that Don got, that is appropriate. If he came on the job, there was something that was working or not working, he tinkered with it. And he wanted to see everything that was happening. So he and I were walking around through the job, and he was dressed like he was before here. Always had a tie on, the coat. We were up in the locker rooms. Went through, all plumbers was doing some work. Had stalls in it. There were a pipe came down, stalls went off of it, had a chain to pull on the water. He was standing there looking up, pulled the chain. Well, nothing happened where they water on. So we moseyed on, went into the other locker room. He was moseying around, doing the same thing, looking around. Pulled the chain and took a shower. Wasn't anyone in there but he and I. And I didn't laugh very hard. I thought that everyone knew this, but I wanted to make sure that they did.
Is there anyone else who happens to have one or two words to say? Please.
Don, I don't think that Fritz was the last one to cut your tie off.
That's right.
I remember at one of my Christmas parties, I made it a special invitation that nobody wore a tie. Well, guess who did? Well, after it was all over, a couple weeks later, you know, I started feeling guilty. And I'm going to show my appreciation to give it back to you.
Any more takers? stories. I have one story I'd like to recount. My father and his suit and tie are legendary. One of the first things that I remember is a very small boy when they were building the St. Nicholas Rec Center. The pool, for some reason, had developed a leak. And as I recall, there were a lot of people who were just sort of standing around the edge of the pool going, yep, it leaks. And that just wasn't good enough for my dad, as several people have said, Dad has to understand exactly what the problem is. Suit and tie and all, Dad took his flashlight and jumped in the pool. I take that back. He did take his jacket off because that was the only thing dry when he came home. Mom was most impressed with his diligence and how much work he put into the company, how seriously he took his job. That's probably the safest thing that I can say. I would like to say a couple of things before I let my father speak. Tom Brokaw has recently come out with a book called The Best Generation. And it talks about a lot of the people that I grew up and watched working for Paul Contract. A lot of the field superintendents, a lot of the other people in this room, the people who went through the war, their families, and the values that they had that, you know, basically built this country and gave my generation all the things that we have. Paul Contracting builds schools, they build hospitals, by building these, they help to create jobs in other communities. But my father and all the other men who worked on those jobs and spent long hours away from home couldn't have done it without their wives, my mother, and their families. And it gave my brother and I and my sister a very good life. And I got a very good education in construction. I probably got a better education in contracts than I ever got at college. And I know this for a fact because I slept through professional practice and still got an A. So I'd like to thank you, Dad. I know Matt thanks you, so does Michelle. And at this point, if you have a few words that you'd like to say to anyone, please.
Thank you.
Be my guest.
Thank you. Assembled here this evening, thank goodness, are a lot of my friends. And without my friends, we wouldn't be any place. And believe me, I greatly appreciate it. Even my table over here, who I've spent my whole life with, they know too many secrets, so I had to invite them just out of self-preservation. And I can remember when the Dean of Architects came to Zanesville, Mr. Dittmer, and things started looking up because we didn't have the only architectural service at that time we had was a civil engineer, and that left a tremendous amount to be desired. So from Mr. Dittmer, then we got Mr. Dittmer and Mr. Stubbs, and the buildings became more proficient, and it gave us contractors a lot of work, which we greatly appreciate. Another item, when I first started, but I think it was 1947, and I forgot to bring what the wage scale was. But the following year, then we were unionized. I think I was earning 75 cents an hour back then. And my grandfather at that time said, we will never survive. We will go broke, we will never be able to get any work. And since then, our wages, I think, have grown a little bit, but we still have been able to get work. So things tend to progress, and you just have to move right along with them. To our foremen, who helped us tremendously, because they were the ones out in the trenches all the time, taking the guff and some of the suggestions from the architect, which at times they did disagree with. I hardly believe they do. So to all the foremen, I wish to say thank you. And to the men in the office who I worked with, John and David Heron and Mrs. Duke, your cooperation was great, and I greatly appreciate it. And I wish everybody, I wish especially you gentlemen, all the luck in the world. So other than that, I greatly appreciate my friends coming for this meal. It's nice to see you all. So thanks again for honoring me at this particular banquet. And my wife, Betty Sue, thank you for putting it on. And it was such a nice, thank you.
There are bottles of champagne at each table if you would pour them. And I'd like to drink a toast to my father and all my father's friends.
Really? Here, that can be there. It's a plaque. Yes, this is bubbly. Thank you. Well, there you go, Mary Lou. Yeah, get that back to Jesus. You know what, I think you just can't get it. Champagne is just that way. That's what it
Ladies and gentlemen, Don Colopy. May we all be as lucky to have this many friends attend our retirement parties. Dad, some of the people have given you some gifts. You might want to open those.
I can do that. Maybe there's a shirt